I'm Ryan Smith here in the ABC Extra News Streaming Now studio. That breaking news happening now in Pasco County. A deputy is returning to active duty 2 months after a suspect shot him in the leg. Deputy Chris Stone was responding to a call for service in Newport Richey back in June. Both Deputy Stone and Sheriff Chris Nacco are talking to the media right now, and authorities just releasing body camera video from that night. Let's go there now.
Standing here with us today, there were probably a lot of neighbors and a lot of people in society that would have just picked up a cell phone and said, I'm not going to get involved, I'm just going to videotape this and I'm going to put on my social media and I'll get a lot of views. But that would not have saved somebody's life. And Bill rushing out there and doing what he did, that saved somebody's life. The other deputies on scene, you talk about, they were going to do everything in their power to make sure that their loved one, a family member, as we are in law enforcement, was going to live. You just see that compassion, that care. Those are heroes. People at Bayonet Point Hospital. When we got into that ER and we're talking to them, they had a sole focus. We're going to make sure Chris is okay. Pasco Fire Rescue getting out there, being on scene and transporting him. A lot of people out there, they probably knew it was Chris, and they're like, let's get him to the hospital ASAP. And our community. And this message keeps going back. I want to thank our community. Because as we went through this incident, our community, rallied around us like they usually do, and they always do. But it means a lot, and it can't be underestimated, or it can't be overstated how much we appreciate all your support. But today, it's about these two heroes right here, Chris and Bill, and I want to thank them very much because for all the accolades, they deserve them. For everything they've done out there, they deserve it. And I got to spend some time again today talking to Chris and meeting with Bill, and I'll tell you, he's one hell of a person, and I want to thank him very much. So, Chris.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Deputy Chris Stone, and I want to start off by thanking the sheriff and the rest of the command staff and everybody else at the sheriff's office for the tremendous support. The community, I can't tell you, I wish I could name everyone who came to see me, who sent cards and flowers, fruit baskets. It was tremendous. So I'd like to say thank you to everyone who did that. Like the sheriff was saying, I'm very fortunate to have my family with me and my second family, which is everybody else here at the sheriff's office. There was just such a tremendous support, which in the situation that I was in was very helpful, and it was much needed. So I kind of want to stress a little bit about the night that this all happened. This was one of those very run-of-the-mill type calls that we routinely go to. It was a domestic call, and we did know that there was a shot that was fired and that there was a handgun there. What we did not know at the time is all the other weapons that were there at the scene. And we spent some time trying to resolve this peacefully, and there came a point that it was decided that we're going to go in and make an arrest. Again, one of those things that we do routinely every day. And it was just one of those things. He, I guess, decided he didn't want to go to jail and ambushed us inside the house. So, I guess I'll turn it back over to the sheriff and.
It's over to you guys. I was going to say, it goes to them, so I can imagine there's questions out there, so.
Deputy Stone, when did it not become routine?
It did not become routine as soon as we entered or attempted to enter the suspect's bedroom and he began shooting.
What do you remember about that night?
Pretty much all of it. Yeah, I remember all of it.
Do you remember the moment you knew that you were shot? I
do. Yes, it was the odd thing, and I've been in some of these situations before. They haven't turned out, as severe as this, and shots weren't fired at us. However, there was an oddity. The position that I was in the stack, we had a shield to protect us. The front guy had a shield as he was a SWAT team member, and as soon as the shots were fired, I remember seeing a spark that came from our side of the shield, which is not normal. and then I felt a punch in the leg. And my thought process was, it's a leg wound, and you know, he had a handgun, so I'm good. So we ended up engaging in a little gun battle inside the house, and it was shortly after that I realized that it was more severe. I started to get very lightheaded, and it felt like somebody had taken a garden hose and just turned it on full and stuck it down my pant leg. So at that point I realized it was a lot more severe than just a flesh wound.
How many people were with you at this point in time, or was it just you?
At the point in time when the shooting occurred, there were 4 of us in the house as the arrest team. Myself and Deputy Stritt ended up in a bedroom. The other 2 deputies that were in there were able to self-extricate from the house.
Have you seen the video?
Yes, I have.
Any kind of thoughts or memories that come back? I noticed you were talking about your family
Yes.
in the video. I can't imagine what that must have been like, thinking about them in that moment.
Yeah, so what you don't see because of the rules and laws of the video that can't be released, I actually passed out inside the house. And when I woke up, I had that thought of my family. Was today going to be the last time my wife, my kids, and my parents saw me when I went to work? And I realized that that wasn't going to be acceptable, and I had to get out of the house.
You certainly have a law enforcement family behind you that saved your life out there as well.
Yes, yes, and thankfully for Bill, that he was there. He was outside. He heard it all. He heard them saying that there was an officer down, and told him bring him to me. And he stepped up and he did everything he could. Found the wound, found where it was, got my pants cut to expose it. They put a tourniquet on my leg, which is ultimately what saved my life. You gotta stop that bleeding. Otherwise, you know, an arterial wound can bleed out anywhere in 3 to 5 minutes. With mine, the round went in and fragmented and severed both my femoral and venous artery. So there was a lot of blood. So fortunately, we all carry tourniquets. Some carry multiple tourniquets, and that was able to be applied and ultimately saved my life.
How was the recovery process?
The recovery process in the beginning was hard. It was painful. It's a leg wound, and it did a lot of damage to my muscle. But to me, you got to have that positive mindset, and I just worked at it, stayed persistent with everything, and as long as everything was feeling good, I did double of what the physical therapist had me doing, and luckily I was able to get back to work quickly, which is great. It's nice to get back to your normal life and doing what you're doing, because it's very discouraging when you can't even put on your own socks in the morning. So I needed to get back to a normal life.
Is there anything you would do different now at this time? I mean, being that all this happened?
No, sir, I don't think so. Not given the information that we knew then. You know, so hindsight 2020, you know, yes, but we didn't know at the time. Given the information that we had at that point in time, we would have done the same any other
You're all
time.
geared up, you ready to go to work today?
I am, yes.
What's your mindset? I mean, you said this was a routine call. There are going to be more calls like this, I'm sure. What is your mindset going forward from here?
It is coming out here and doing my job, doing what I love to do. I have been back to work for about a week and a half now, and we had a call the other day of a felony warrant suspect inside a house, and he wasn't coming out. We had to go in and get him, almost along the same lines. You know, we just didn't have that same dialogue that we did with this gentleman.
Did the injury leave any permanent damage?
Yes, yes. I have a slight deformity to my leg. I have some nerve damage in my lower leg. Because the tourniquet was on for so long, I ended up with blood clots in my lower leg. So they had to do surgery, obviously, to fix the artery. The veins were tied off. They utilized a vein from my left leg to repair the artery in my right leg. So I have a few scars from it.
We hear about this so often, but we don't normally get to speak to the deputy, you know, that experienced it. How are you and your family doing 2.5 months later?
Everybody's great. Life is back to normal. Thankfully, you know, like the other gentleman said, I come from a law enforcement family. Ironically, back in the 80s, my dad, who also worked for the sheriff's office, was shot. So, yeah, so we've been through it before. So,
This is your first time being shot?
yes, sir.
Not first time being shot at?
I haven't directly, there's been shots fired. I haven't directly been shot at before, so.
And what was it, you were hit with from a handgun, or what was the weapon used with that from the shot?
It was an
line?
assault rifle. Yep.
Is that a question for Bill?
Are you going through any, like, mental health treatment?
No,
or anything?
as a policy and procedure, we do anytime something like this happens, we do go see a psychological or go for a psychological. So we went through all that, and he cleared me, and everything's good.
Bill? Next question for Bill.
Hi, how are you? I'm Bill Rickey from upstate New York, ex-fireman from East Fishkill Fire District. And it's just lucky enough to be in the right spot at the right time to help Chris out.
Bill, what's it like to see Deputy Stone walking around back to work?
It's good. Feels real good. So, just glad I was there to help him out and make sure he went home to his family. It's too close to Father's Day for all that to be going on. So, having kids of my own, I can only imagine what they were thinking and how they were feeling.
Your firefighter training kick in, what was going through your mind?
Just do what I had to do. Nothing was going through my mind except helping him out. There was no thought process. When you go through the training, you spend your life doing that stuff, that just, you do what has to be done. These days, everybody just wants to hold up a phone and take pictures and video and see how many likes they get on Facebook. You know, drop the cameras, get involved. You know, stop standing around watching somebody get beat up. Drop your camera and help them out.
We heard a lot of people kind of encouraging him, hang on, we're right here. Were you one of those people kind of talking him through things as well?
I didn't make any voiced or visual contact with him until the very end, when I knew that the tourniquet was on and 2 members of Pasco Fire and Rescue had made it to the scene. I got up, walked away, and that was when I finally, I don't know if you saw a video of it, I bent down, made a fist bump with him and told him, you're all right, you're gonna make it. And I just went back to my house. Found out the next day that nobody knew who I was. So, kind of wish it would have stayed that way.
How do you spell your last name?
R-I-C-C-I.
It's pronounced Rick.
Ricky.
Ricky.
Bill, now you say you just had no thought process at the time, but you know, most people coming out of their house hearing gunshots run away. You ran towards it, but the thought process in your head, what was like?
I didn't even hear gunfire. I seen Chris hit the ground. When he came out of the house and collapsed in front of the house, I seen him hit the ground, and I turned to my wife and told her, get inside, get me towels, whatever you can get your hands on. And by the time she came back out, I was already out in the street. They had two of his guys had drug him out to where I was, or out to the street to where I could get to him. And from that moment on, I didn't hear anything else going on the scene. I can't tell you anything that happened anywhere else on it. Except for one point when I looked up to make sure I had somebody with a weapon standing close enough aimed in that direction to cover me. That was the only thing I remember looking up and seeing. Other than that, my focus was on him, trying to find out where it was. You know, they were trying to get all his gear and everything off him, trying to find out where he was shot, and I just happened to get lucky enough to notice that there was no blood at the bottom of his gear. Everything was on his legs. So I'm just glad I got out there. Otherwise, chances are he'd have been laying in the street in front of the house.
So it seems like after Chris got
And you've been just listening live as Pasco Deputy Chris Stone replays the night he was shot back in June, responding to a domestic violence call in Newport Richey. Deputy Stone just returning back to work after recovering for 2 months. He was shot by a suspect. Stone said it felt at the time like being punched in the leg, but soon realized it was so much more serious. And at one point he passed out and wondered if he'd ever see his family again. Thankfully, that wasn't the case, as he is still with us today and returning back to work. Deputy Stone thanking the community, his neighbors, and fellow deputies, saying they all played a positive role in his recovery. We want to mention we are carrying this live feed over on our Facebook page, and more headlines are coming up. Stay with us right here on ABC Extra News, streaming now.